Sunday, another case of the Scaries to start your work week. Welcome to the newest edition of the Sunday Scaries, where we have all your gore, lore, and more, covering all the latest horror happenings, slicing open all the latest horror news, and dissecting it bit by bit, finding all those juicy innards. Pour yourself a nightcap, and turn your fright light while we take you on a tour of terror. And yes, our usual threesome is back this week. We have
Threesome. What up, y'all? What up?
What's going on? What's happening, everybody? Yes, Adrian was again out of town last week, so we had to, cut him from the lineup. But he's here, and he's got a mission for us. Because last week we were all supposed to get his thoughts on Weapons, being as he doesn't go to the movies all that often, but when he does, it's usually for something cool. So, Adrian, what do you think of Weapons, my boy?
All right, Weapons was definitely probably my most enjoyable horror film since The Substance. I enjoy a lot of horror films from time to time, and in The Substance, I kind of felt like that was a really diverse, just kind of new take on a horror movie. I love the colors, I love the production, all that stuff. Weapons, I had a similar kind of love for. I loved how it told its story like Pulp Fiction does. You see a little chapter and add some more context to the situation. And I'm also a huge fan of the super goofy, kind of like funny bits. For example, not to talk about the end of it already, but when the lady was running out the house and all the kids were chasing after her. I mean, the way that she's running, it was almost like a montage, like Scooby-Doo, you know what I mean? Running through this one funny scenario, running through another one. That was awesome. I enjoyed it. I kind of was hoping for more of a, I want to say, creepy, kind of like deeper cutting explanation of things. But at the same time, I really enjoyed that it was like a witch. I feel like it's only a couple specific movies that can really do witches. And when they do, it's even smaller few that can do witches well. And I feel like this is a movie that did it well.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I think this is it. Not to just like rehash our review entirely, because yeah, like I said, we just want to get your thoughts and opinions on it. But I think like after sitting with it now for like almost 2 weeks at this point, it's one of those movies that just like I keep thinking about everything from the way it was structured to the way the narrative, like just on a writing standpoint, that's where my head sits a lot with this one, because it's like I can only imagine the process of which writing this movie went. And I get a little bit of a sense from Zach Krager's interviews and stuff how he just started this story with the idea of the missing kids and he just kept going. But it's like the fact that you break it down in the way that you do without spoiling anything, obviously, it's one of those things where it's like it's done, I'd say, fairly often in that way. You've seen that kind of story structure before, but I think it's just done really, really well here. Everything makes sense and connects, and it all is great.
I think that's why it works. Oh, sorry, Adrian, didn't mean to cut you off there.
I was just going to agree with him.
I think that's why like Zach Krager's work is really hits with me, because sometimes when you're watching these films, you can sense a little bit of a constraint to say, okay, we don't want to go that far into left field. It's just kind of like we want to make this for a general audience. I think sometimes we're really hesitant to kick into that fourth gear of horror, where Zach Krager, I think he does go full force with it. And he's like, it's, as horror fans, you're going to be either in it or you're going to just be out. It's like one or the other, really. And that's what I like about his work, especially I talk about it on the channel of having that turning point with Malignant, where it's like, okay, this is like absolute true blue horror. I'm on full board here and I'm with this story. And I think, there's, throughout the years, we have those stories, at least maybe, 1 or 2 a year, where it's like, okay, I can really equate this to true blue horror. I think Weapons is that, where he's taking you on a ride. You're either going to be with it or you're going to really hate it. Obviously, we see it in our responses to our reviews in terms of, people are like, oh, it's great. And other people are like, man, this is shit,
Yeah,
so it's like one or the other. But that's what I love about it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It just really draws a line in the sand there. And you either just really love it or you're just not really jiving with it a whole lot. I dig that, man. That's kind of how I felt about The Substance. I wanted my fiance's mother to go see that, but it just wasn't her thing. I was like, come on, man. This is amazing.
I laugh because I know Adrian's significant other's mother very well. So it's one of those things where it's like taking her. Oh boy, that would be an experience for that film. I can only imagine. I'd love to personally.
Yeah.
Like just her reactions would be insane.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree. Substance was fire, but yeah, getting back to Weapons, a lot of people have been comparing that to Barbarian, obviously. I feel like Weapons was definitely more in depth, more fleshed out. I felt like you got to learn more of what was going on, which was cool because not every cool concept pays off like that, I've noticed.
Yeah, it's definitely you see more swings than and attempts, I would say, more than you see successes. That's why I think this one is so rare and so fun, is because it does actually succeed on all fronts when it comes to the way its story is structured, the big swings it's taking, with just saying, hey, I trust the audience to, take this journey with me and trust that we're going to end in a spot where I think everybody's going to be mostly satisfied. Now, not everybody will be, obviously, but I can certainly say that it seems like the majority of people really got what this movie was trying to do. And again, I think the best thing about it, again, no spoilers, it's still relatively simple and straightforward. Once all the pieces are on the table, you get it. You don't need anything like a big detailed, hey, we're going to explain everything in this one scene kind of moment. It's like you get what's going on.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think, sometimes we get a little too complex with our storytelling. I think what I like about Weapons and even Barbarian is how thorough it is in terms of its storytelling, where it's like you have the Josh Brolin character and he gets his time. But, the way that they tell that story, a lot of people get their shining moments. We get their backstory and we get to understand where they're coming from. Even in Barbarian, where we go back to like the Justin Long character and what he's going through and stuff like that, where Zach Cregger is doubling down on the horror elements. And sometimes what you see, especially when we dive into deeper rooted horror stuff, I mean, Dylan and I see it when we, cover some, a little bit lower budget stuff where it's like, okay, this is definitely a really horror based concept, but it's just not as thorough in terms of its character work or its world building. Where Zach Cregger, especially with Weapons there are times where it just feels like I'm watching this really intense thriller as we're trying to discover what we are trying to discover. But then by the time we figure out everything and what kind of subgenre we're dealing with, it's like, okay, man, this is really deep in the horror space. But the thoroughness of the story with its character and world building, I think makes it wise. Zach Cregger's properties, when they're at the theater, I mean, we're seeing how much it's making at the theater, but then when people are just doing this word of mouth, why they're so talked about and why, I mean, a lot of his script, I mean, Weapons was one of those bidding wars. And I think, whatever he does, he's going to do Resident Evil next, but whatever, especially when it comes to an original script, I could easily see continuously Zach Cregger's work having these bidding wars of studios that want them.
And I would be really excited to see his take on a Resident Evil movie. Just saying. I haven't seen any Resident Evil movies, but I've played a bunch of the games. One thing I did want to comment on with Weapons was I went on opening night. So obviously it was going to be, more filled up than a typical movie night. But I was pleased to see that our entire theater here, where I live in, Nashville kind of area in Tennessee, was packed, man. It was packed. It's one of the first times I've ever had to sit on one of the lower rows. And I really love to see that. I really love to see when a movie's doing well, let alone it being a horror film this creative.
Did you go to your AMC, you said?
Yep.
Yeah, that movie theater drives me crazy because you don't have the assigned seating. And it just that threw me off so hard when we went there to see Lilo and Stitch. I was like, what is going on, man? I'm too used to how it's run up here now.
Old fashioned, man, those guys down there.
Is Cinemark the only ones that really do the assigned seating? Because I don't think Regal does, but I don't go to Regal that often.
Regal started to.
Oh, did they?
They started to, yeah. I am 1 second here, guys. You two keep you two keep
okay.
Yeah, you two keep chatting. I'm figuring something out on the back end here. So sorry.
Messing around.
I
was gonna comment that I've not really seen too many Regals, man. Ever since the one kind of like in our hometown kind of died out, the only Regal I'm really aware of. Oh, what's up, bud? What's up?
We have a special guest here.
This is Georgie's the Loch Ness Monster over here.
He's got his tail front and center. I'm really enjoying it. But it's like Regal. I have a Regal fairly close to me, but then they don't really show anything out of the ordinary. There's a Regal that's probably like 20 minutes from us, Dylan, that I remember we'd go to from time to time. That's where we saw the Book of Henry, because that's
Farallon. That's not even there anymore, bro.
Is that one gone?
It's gone, dude. Yeah, they got rid of that one. They got rid of the one down by my dad's house. Like I think the only Regal you can go to near us is in Medina now.
Okay, no, there's one that's right up
the
by
Howe
Chapel
Avenue
Hill.
one.
Yeah,
that's
that
right.
one. So that one's like 5 minutes away from me, but they don't show anything out of the ordinary. So it's like we go to Regal from time to time to see those obscure films, but now Dylan just broke my entire world here, not realizing that one Farallon's gone. So
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
Dang, I'm telling you, that's how I felt when the Arlington Road one went down. And the only Regal around here that I'm aware of is probably that big shiny one on I-65 south, south from Nashville. It's like that huge glowing one. I don't know if anybody's been to Nashville, but yeah, it's that one.
We might have someone from Nashville in there, or at least who's been recently. Yeah, we got to go to your big special one next time I'm in town, though. I want to see that one you guys are always talking about at the mall. So
yeah, it's beautiful, man. Never been inside there, but yeah, it's super cool. But going back to weapons, I did want to comment. I really like the uncanny valley feeling you get from, the kids when they were running around in the trailer footage, as well as earlier parts of the movie. And I just love like that whole possession aspect of things, if you want to call it that. There's also, I just really like some of the gore in there too. Some of the gore in there was crazy. Like the one guy when he's running up on, what's her name at the gas station. That was a really cool scene.
My God. Especially where they placed that. It's crazy. And that's not a spoiler, everybody. We won't say specifics, but that's in the trailer. So, but yeah, I don't want to spoil too much because we're still not super out of it, but yeah, it's a great one. It's definitely one that
there's definitely some intense scenes in there.
Well, let's see. Violet says Resident Evil 7 was one of my first horror games. So unsettling. That game is great. That's Biohazard, I think. Is that the one?
I'm one of those guys that played like the first 4 like OG Resident Evil games. After that, I kind of fell off. Raccoon City was really fun. Not a lot of people liked that game, but I just liked, the aesthetic that all the people you could play as had. And but my little brother, he's been playing all the newer ones, like the remakes and stuff. He says those are pretty good.
Yeah, I've played Biohazard and Village, both very good, very great first-person kind of games. I really need to sit down and actually play Alien Isolation. I've only read the book. I've never actually sat down and played it. I want to really bad. I was thinking about if we ever did like streams or something for like solo games, that would be one for sure. I feel like every horror streamer does that, though.
I've seen such fun clips from that game, though.
I've seen ones where people have upgraded the AI with mods, and now it's like super deadly, and it looks crazy. Like thing just knows where you are constantly. It's way smarter than you. And then Silhouetted donated $2. Thank you, sir. I'm sad you gave money to Lilo and Stitch, man. LOL. I have a 3-year-old son. I have a 3-year-old son, and you will be happy to know, Silhouetted, it's even better. They got my money, and out of the 3 tickets I paid for, only my wife got to see the entire film because my son was just too wound up because we were on vacation, and he was talking too much, so I took him out of the theater, and we sat in the car for the last 45 minutes and waited because he was just not doing well. But he has since recanted on that. He's a much better movie watcher nowadays. Jurassic World, that's what broke him. He finally gets it now. He's like, oh, I love it.
That's awesome.
I didn't think it was bad from what I saw.
Me either. I went because my fiance's a Disney girl, so, I kind of had to. But, yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad, man. Last time I saw Lilo and Stitch was when I was 5. And, yeah, I'm one of those guys. But it was okay. It was a good movie.
Oh, yeah. And no problem, Erica. I just wanted to also announce to some of the chat here, we're going to have Erica and Brandon. I reached out to them personally or, over the last couple of weeks, and they are now moderators in the stream. So, yeah, anytime they can be here, they can help us out, keep things together. So, yeah, we not only have Adrian as the producer, but those two will be here from time to time as well. So thank them both. And yeah, it's really awesome. So this is great. But honestly,
welcome to the team.
Yep. Honestly, though, like the chat is usually very, very, very chill for us and everything. You guys are always really kind and really cool to each other. So I love it. But Bit Flipper, I didn't want to completely go over this or skip over this. at the start he was quoting our song. And I've kind of come to the realization that I love what Richie did. That's for the Merkins. I love what he did, but it's one of those things for me where it's like everybody always asks what he's saying. And I'm just like, from what I can gather and what I remember, I'd have to go back to the podcast, but I'm pretty sure he's saying slash your ass. But I know he changes it up a couple of times too in the longer version.
Yeah, that's what it is slash, but there is, I don't know if maybe there's a slip of the tongue maybe sometimes in that, because it sounds eerily close to other things, because I'll listen to it from time to time and I'm like, no, he's saying slash. And I'm like, well, it teeters.
Yeah, but I get a good chuckle out of that. I love that everybody is like,
it's
like really likes that. It is catchy, and he just freestyled that right on the rip, like as we were on at the end, because that's what he does whenever he does interviews. He freestyles it, and I don't know. Awesome. It's the main reason why I haven't switched the logo on the end yet, just because like I just don't want to. I've got the edit and everything on the sound for that perfect, and it did take a lot because I wanted it to sound a little bit more like produced rather than just like taking it straight from the podcast. And I'm just worried that I'll never be able to get that pitch perfect again because it was so long ago. But also, it's classic, and we got the new logo. But also, classic logos out there as well. So
no, yeah, I mean, I don't mind having a classic logo to end things. So I don't think anyone does. So best of both worlds, I think.
Absolutely. Which that was great. I don't know if you saw that comment. Somebody was like, they were like, oh man, it's like, yeah, I love your channel. It's like, I love your videos, but it's like, I think you need to be the face of it because I like your videos more than Luke's. And I was just like, I'm offended and complimented at the same time. But I was basically just like, it's different strokes, different folks. You know what I mean? Because that's what I love about it is like, because not to, I guess, be too much inside baseball here, but there might be a series of videos that old Lukester is going to be hopping on the train with me here, a topic. So you guys will not only get to see what I think of a certain genre, or I guess a certain topic on our stuff here, but you will also get to see what Luke does. And I've been really looking forward to this because I think that the two topics we've been discussing behind the scenes are certainly ones you guys really love. And I think that it's going to be fun to see how the other side lives, I guess.
Yeah, variety is a special life, man.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What's up, Nathan? What's going on, man?
What's up, Nathan?
That's my cousin, everybody. I'm going to out him. That's my boy. We've been going fishing on Saturday and Sunday mornings, every either one once a week for the last couple of weeks. It's been hella fun getting up at like 6 a.m., getting out on the water. It's been good. And Atticus loves it. So
that's awesome.
All righty. Well, now that we're caught up there and we got the intro done, and we now know how Adrian feels about weapons, why don't we hop into, let's do the news first. We'll do that. I liked how that worked. I think ending with the review is stronger. Plus we got to build up to that a little bit because Adrian, I know you probably haven't gotten a chance to see it, which is fine, but we are going through the Hell House review series currently, and we are on Hell House 3, the Lake of Fire. Is that what it's called? Yeah. Correct, Luke?
Yes. Correct.
Yes. Okay, I was like, I'm making sure because I get the title of these movies jacked up all the time. But yeah, we're going to be talking about that one, so we'll save that for the end. But let's see here. I know for what Luke had us down here, do you want to introduce the first topic for us, sir? Do you want to pick which one we're going with?
Certainly. Well, we can go off with probably the biggest piece of news is that the ongoing Poohniverse is going to be continuing with Blood and Honey 3 even after everyone assembles. Scott Chambers will be taking over directing that third installment, but we also have Richard Stanley entering the game for screenwriting that. So what we had Matt Leslie for Blood and Honey 2, and now we're switching it up with Richard Stanley, who most people probably know him from Color Out of Space, as well as one of the most intriguing films. It's one that I do enjoy myself from 1996 is The Island of Dr. Moreau. So I don't know. This one, in terms of Blood and Honey, where they were going with part 2, I brought up more than once The Island of Dr. Moreau with that. So I'm really intrigued to see what we're going to be doing here. I think he could bring a certain style to that story and where the direction is going.
Yeah, it's interesting what they're doing with these. And I mean, we talk about the fellas behind this series all the time, but like I really like their like kind of unpredictableness when it comes to whoever they put in the writer's chair. You know, you look at projects like this, and you would really think that it would just be, you know, just the two of them working on all of these. They'd be making all the scripts, but it's really neat how they're just kind of giving a rough, almost like, I guess you'd call it, treatment to these projects, and then looking for writers to come in, bring a certain voice, a certain style to it. At least we saw that with number 2, and that was definitely, next to Neverland Nightmares, I think probably the highest praised film of the series so far.
Yeah. So this one, I think, you know, we talked about it in Blood Honey 2, where it really felt like they were understanding what they wanted to do in the direction they're going. And I like that the groundwork that they laid for part 2. And then obviously, did they say in terms of, you know, when everyone assembles there, is this like a contained story? Did they say, or is this kind of like an ongoing? Are they?
I mean,
pushing this narrative forward to kind of like we're sidebarring everything, and then we're gonna continue any sort of stories post.
As far as I know, that was where they landed, and it was kind of foggy if they were going to continue off with it. I had a conversation with Scott, I believe, off air, and I don't necessarily know if I can reiterate exactly what was said.
Gotcha.
But it's not set in stone. Everything going afterwards was always kind of up in the air. And I think this is further confirmation that they're at least going to be going through with a third Winnie the Pooh, obviously, and continuing on with some other projects as well. So, but we kind of knew that a little bit. I think really they're just trying not to get the cart too far ahead of the horse or whatever it is. Cause like, yeah, that's if they announce so many and then obviously, you know, nobody goes to see Poohniverse, then, you know, their funding just goes right out the window. But I think coming back to this, which is still to date, I believe their highest grossing film of the series is part 2. Bringing that back, I think they know that that's a lot of what fans will be eager to see, is kind of that. Because again, say what you will about the first film, there's a lot of people in here like Brandon, and I'm pretty sure Erica's seen these, but like, you know, there's a lot of folks in here who silhouetted everybody, I'm pretty sure, has at least mentioned watching that first film and being just like, oh, that was terrible. But it's still talked about. It's still memed on. It's still relevant. And it's just funny that the rest of these have just kind of been able to go up from there. And now it's almost, I guess, becoming an accepted property amongst just the film community.
Yeah, it's still, you know, what is it? Public domain horror. And I think to a certain extent, especially when it's not Scott or Reese kind of being attached to these, maybe it does have that kind of stigma attached to it. But I think as we progressed out of Blood and Honey, and then we got into the sequel, and then we also got into Neverland Nightmares, and Bambi was received fairly well. I think we were.
I know. I was surprised because like we were both surprised by that because we actually were like kind of detractors on that. You know, it wasn't the worst thing ever, but it was like
just kind of basic
step back. Yeah,
it was a basic take compared to what we were getting, where it's like you look at Blood and Honey 2, it's got a certain direction it's going toward. Neverland Nightmare had typical different kind of genre it was trying to attach itself to with the psychological aspect to it. So those two felt like they had a very particular flavor to them in a direction they wanted to go into, where Bambi was just kind of that monster. Like, yeah, it's really digestible, but it just wasn't anything in terms of the direction we were going. Just felt like it was kind of a normal take to it. So, you know, building this foundation, and when we talked to Scott and Reese right before Blood and Honey had come out, and they all had these really big ideas and where they wanted to go with it, you know, and they kind of weren't able to at the time, but now we can really start seeing that direction that they want to go in. And I think Blood and Honey 2, it posed so many different questions and an interesting route to really go in terms of the relationship between Pooh and Christopher Robin. Yeah. I think a lot of people really want to see what that third installment is going to look like. That's why I'm curious to see what, you know, when everyone gets together, what that story is going to look like, if we're going to be driving the story forward, or it's just going to kind of be a little bit of a sidebar and then we're going to get back into it. Because Blood and Honey 3, I was surprised to see Richard Seanley attached to this.
Yeah.
I know he's attached to some controversy. I haven't seen anything really out of that in terms of any news or anything. So I'm not sure how well received that's going to be in terms of when that gets out there and it becomes a even bigger talking point than just news. But he always has a creative take on a lot of different things. Like Color Out of Space was a huge win. I don't think anyone was
Oh, yeah.
expecting that. That is such a rewatchable film. And I think Blood and Honey 2 is already a really rewatchable film as well. So, I'm excited for Blood and Honey 3 and see what Scott is going to bring to it behind the lens as well. Because Neverland Nightmares was great. We talk about it and it's always teetering in my top 10 of the year so far. I know we still have some heavy hitters coming, but Neverland Nightmares had an exceptional quality of something that I was not expecting.
Yeah, and that quality is they put our quote on the poster, so we're sold out as fuck on that. No, I'm kidding. It was actually surprisingly solid. That was one of those things again where it's like we got brought into that process so early with them giving us a rough cut that it was like, all right, why are they putting us in this position where we can't say no, but also we could, but like we wouldn't, and it's like, but also we're probably going to have to be pretty brutal about this. And we were honest and we gave some critiques, and I think the biggest thing that blows my mind to this day is that there are elements of that movie that were literally ideas that Luke, myself, a couple others that I don't know if I should mention unless we get their permission, were given, and it was like they actually went and shot them. They used them in the movie, and it was just like, damn, they really do give a shit about like what fans think, because that's at the end of the day all we are. Is just we were fans of the first one for the most part. We were pretty disappointed with the mean one, so it was kind of like, it's better than that, right? And then look at that. Now we're all caught up in this universe. It's great. I love it. But I also agree with what Brandon's saying here. Scott and Reese have proven it, and they've shown they really care, not just doing the same thing. Yes, and that's
Absolutely.
100%. And I think for people who maybe weren't as big a Bambi like us, but were bigger on Pooh 2 and Neverland Nightmares, I really think that Pinocchio could wind up being the best one they've done yet. And that's the next one. Just seeing all the behind the scenes stuff that they have released, the stuff we've talked about with Scott and Reese, just behind the scenes about like what they're doing, all of their interviews and stuff, how they've talked about the approach to this movie. It's like, dude, this one could actually be a real big contender to be up there with like the Megans and the Child's Play and things like that, of where these killer dolls or little tiny critters go.
Absolutely. I remember when they had kind of laid the groundwork of what directions they were going to go into, and they mentioned Pinocchio on Strung, and I was like, that is my most anticipated, even before seeing anything else, just conceptually what you can do. And then when we hear the talent attached to the puppetry and everything like that that's going to go into Pinocchio, it's just really exciting. And then you kind of see some of the behind the scenes photos and what the images look like, and it's like, oh, they're really laying some groundwork to have some gravitas to the actual film itself. So as we're progressing, as these initial announcements, I remember right when Blood and Honey was announced and the kind of backlash that had gotten before anything else was announced or we had seen anything. And I mean, there's still a backlash to an extent, but I don't think it's as harsh as it was a couple of years ago when this thing first started. And it's, as fans are getting into it, even horror fans that were skeptical of public domain, I mean, we were certainly skeptical as well. It was intriguing to see what kind of how they're going to attach horror to these elements. And, sometimes they were pretty blatant as to what we could see, and then taking those other spins that were a little more unique. But as we're getting farther down the line here, especially as we're working toward Pinocchio, it's like they're showing how lucrative public domain horror can be. And it's just not like we're attaching a Disney property to this and just making it horror. It's like they're really finding these intriguing stories and taking these down different avenues. So Pinocchio, that opens up a lot for horror. So I'm excited to see what they're going to bring in with scares and just the puppetry as well. I think if it's done really well, my gosh, that one I'll be eager to see a sequel to.
Yeah, and I think that overall I'm excited to see where this goes. I hope that not only Pinocchio, but Poohniverse is also really strong. But I'm really curious to see what Richard Stanley is going to bring to the third film. As we know, not to spoil anything for anybody, there's some light body horror elements that got introduced into this second film with kind of how these creatures became. And yeah, it's one of those things to me where it's like I'm very, very curious to see what they're going to do with that using Richard Stanley. Because if you've seen The Color Out of Space, you know that he's definitely got a good handle on that. He's got a good eye for some really creepy visuals there. And yeah, Brandon also says, yeah, Pinocchio also has Richard Brake and Robert Englund in it. So yeah, and yeah, it does suck that it's coming out in 2026, but I mean, the more time they need, the better. And honestly, it's no fault to them really, but like I'm pretty sure every movie since the first one has been delayed by a little bit each time. I think that it's just one of those things where it's like once you actually get to the point of, you know, getting it out there, getting it into theaters. I know they've had some issues with certain distributors and things like that. So we'll just see what happens from there. But I'm excited for this. I think this is all good news.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I know Silhouette's bringing up, he said Richard Stanley's original vision for Dr. Moreau was wild. My gosh. Yeah, Dylan and Dylan, you watched the documentary. I think you watched it before I did. And seeing the concepts for that and where that could go, that's what, as soon as this was announced, and I started thinking back on Richard Stanley and what his original vision was. And, you know, I think the budget got out of hand, if I remember correctly. And we were never able to really achieve that. And I'm curious to see what he's going to bring. I could easily see some of those ideas, not verbatim, but that spirit being brought into Blood and Honey 3, because the original ideas that Richard Stanley had for the island of Dr. Moreau were just completely off the wall. And it was something like, for my take, and off the wall in a good way. I was like, man, I really would love to see visually how this would be achieved. So while won't be verbatim, I'm hoping he does bring that essence to Blood and Honey 3 just to see what's going to happen.
I agree. Yeah, I'm excited to see what he's going to bring to that. And actually, it was Mr. Boone here. I really don't think it is. I think that we're going to get something pretty significant with him. I'm just curious to see what it is. And it's, I swear, if Robert Englund is just a glorified cameo, I'm so done, man. I think that they know not to just, you know, absolutely like just drop somebody in there, because we've talked about that many times with them in our interviews about just like, you know, if you had to get bigger actors or names you'd want to see, and they were very upfront about wanting to actually give people roles rather than cameos. And I don't think they're going to do that with him in this. I actually think he might be like a Geppetto like character, which would be kind of neat. So.
That would be fantastic.
Because it would be great to have him just be like the nice kind of you know, soft spoken, everybody loves Robert Englund. Oh no, he says he's voicing the cricket. There you go, even better. I didn't even think about that. But that's yeah, fantastic. Jiminy Cricket, I love that.
Yeah, that should be interesting. I think, you know, I love that the horror DNA is going to be flowing through this. You know, it's like as they're increasing these budgets, getting more opportunities, you can really tell that their vision, Scott and Reese's vision, is really taking shape. And they're like, you know, it becomes, oh, I wish we could do this too. Hey, we get to do this. And I'm excited to see. I think Pinocchio is really going to be that showcase. You know, I'm excited for everything down the line, but Pinocchio right now just seems like to be that focal point where I think this is really, all these pieces are really coming together to make something special. And I hope I'm not getting too ahead of myself to say that I think Pinocchio and Strong's going to be probably the top tier that we're going to see thus far.
Absolutely. And let's see here. Got a couple things. Yep. Dylan, love your horror background. Thank you so much. I very much doubt it's one of the best on YouTube. It's very messy right now, but thank you. I appreciate it. And then he's saying he loves his clinically insane vision. I love that as well. I think that's great. Oh, Adrian, you're getting called out. You need to get a couple of horror things in your background there. Hey, even Haley's in here. That is my wife, everybody. They are also a huge fan of the Poohniverse stuff. So definitely take it from, if not me, my wife, who is very picky on a lot of the media and movies they watch. And I think that like the fact that they even enjoy these and really loved like Neverland Nightmares, considering that's her favorite Disney character, it's like, I think that's pretty safe in my book. Obviously, you don't know her. And you barely know me. So, you know, it's just like, but I say, trust me, guys. Trust me. I can vouch. Let's see. That was a live action Pinocchio from 2021, not the Disney one that came out. That's some crazy design. That's Guillermo del Toro's, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
But it's
I
not live
forgot
action.
about.
It's stop motion, isn't it?
I forgot that existed until just right now.
Yeah.
Was that released in theaters? That wasn't a Netflix.
No, that
thing,
was on Netflix.
Was it? Okay.
Oh, whew. I'm forgetting totally. I forgot they did a goddamn live action version of this movie, bro. Disney did a professional live action version. I totally forgot. Oh God.
When,
Yep,
in
yep,
2021?
yeah. It was 2022. Both came out that year.
Oh, okay.
But Del Toro's, yes, I did hear Del Toro's was actually very good and very heartfelt.
What about the Jonathan Taylor Thomas vehicle of Pinocchio? I missed that one.
Are you talking about the one from the 90s?
Yes. Well, of course, it's Jonathan Taylor Thomas. That guy hasn't done anything in a minute, but
Well, that was terrifying. My grandparents had that in Kansas City on VHS, and I accidentally put it on one day.
you were scared.
I was
of
unsettled.
JTT?
I I didn't like it. Not a fan.
I don't remember hardly anything about that film other than that eventually he turns into a real boy. Like spoiler, but yeah, sorry about that. That one I just remember Jonathan Taylor Thomas in the 90s. He couldn't beat him. He couldn't escape him.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. I remember the I actually think it's the whale from Guillermo del Toro's actually looks pretty metal. Speaking of weird animated shit, I think Silhouette had brought this up. I'm very familiar with Unearthed Films now. They are a brand that they make a lot of really great movies. I love them, all of them. And they have one that I guess is coming to DVD and Blu-ray for the first time, which I have on a list that I will talk about eventually. I just I want to get back to this, but this thing looks absolutely strange. I'm going to send you a link, Luke, just so you can get an idea for it. But this is going to be one that I think we should watch on Splattercast Cinema, to be honest.
I'm down 100%. Let's sign me up for it.
Yeah, which for those of you who don't know, we're going to be doing those here very soon. I got a couple light commitments right now. I just got to finalize some things, but we're going to be doing Splattercast Cinema. We're bring a couple of our buddies. Eventually, we're going to open it up to a new room where we can have a lot of the members, Patreon members, YouTube channel members, once we get those up, where you guys can come and actually watch the movies with us. And then we're going to record them and just release the commentaries as a whole on Patreon. But then also we're going to kind of cut them up into the best moments and kind of do like a little clip show thing. I think those are a lot of fun. I watch a lot of channels that do that. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's always a good time. We've only done a couple thus far. We just haven't had the time, obviously. But now we're going to get deeper into that. And it was always a good time. What did we do? We did Carnosaur. And then what was the second one? Creatures
from the Abyss. That's the one that's up on Patreon right now. So,
okay.
Yeah,
both wild experiences.
Yeah, that movie was goofy as hell, man.
Adrian had to edit that one, so he got to watch that movie secondhand. So
my favorite part was like the douchebag character. He was just like, "I'm gonna get a free yacht," and everybody was like, "Dude, are you like a psychopath or something? Like, what's wrong with you? Read the room." I love that, man.
Yeah, it's got some wild critters in it and some wild scenes. I highly recommend checking that thing out if you have not seen it. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Yep. Silhouetted. Got it. Yep. Creatures from the Abyss, aka Plankton. Yeah. And Alex also has it on DVD. He was the one who gave it to us, or not gave it to us, but he showed it to us. He picked it. So yeah, and we were supposed to do more of those, but those, Adrian will attest to this, those editings to get them down from like, an hour and a half, like long watch to, 15, 20 minutes is just like, it's hard. It's really tough to like find natural edits that aren't too jagged or too rigid. So it takes time. So
I know this movie better than my own past at this point.
Yes, sir. Hell yeah. All right. Luke, what's next on the docket, sir?
What's next, Luke?
Let's see here. So we could talk little tidbits. Personal favorite of mine is the remake of The Blob from 1988. It has since been discussed. They've been trying to do several different remakes, but apparently there is still one in development right now. We hadn't heard anything in quite some time, but the David S. Goyer had come out during a little interview for Sandman Season 2 saying that it is still in production, or they're trying to get it up and going. David Bruckner is still attached to direct as well as write the film. He gave a little tidbit of what we're going to be looking at, the use of AI and kind of like this gene editing. And of course, human error goes awry. And that's going to be the basic concept for the Blob. So that's what we're looking at right now. Anything the Blob I'm excited for. I was going to do a video way back when on the history of the Blob, and I ended up changing it up because there was already an in-depth YouTube video about it, and they had gone over Rob Zombies and everything like that. His idea sounded rather intriguing, and I think being a remake, 1988 is way stronger than it has the right to be. And I'm excited, but also very hesitant to see another remake of the Blob, because obviously going into practical versus CGI, who knows what that's going to look like, and just story-wise, I don't like to see it tampered with, but I want to see the Blob back in people talking about it, because the 1988 version has certainly gotten a lot of love, more so in the last few years, but tends to go overlooked a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it is just, it's one of those movies, like, I want to say that, and then, oh God, Night of the Creeps. I almost called it Creatures of the Creeps or something. Those are two movies that when Luke introduced me to those, they've constantly been climbing in my horror top 10s. And then some of them, like the Blob, even just in my top 10 films of all time. I mean, like, this is just one of those movies that is endlessly rewatchable for me, just like The Thing. I think it has that spark, that juice that everybody's looking for when they're making a really good, memorable horror movie. And it hits it from all angles. I mean, like, it's just a great 80s throwback film. It's got a great sense of humor, wonderful characters, and the Blob is actually scary as hell. I love it, the way it disintegrates people. There's so many memorable, great kills in that, and it was killing kids in that movie long before Art the Clown was. So take that, America.
Man, and I remember watching that film. My dad used to watch it when I was a kid all the time, and I had not seen it in, honestly, probably like 2 decades at the time that I rewatched it. It was on Crackle. I don't even know if that streaming service is still going anymore, but I remember just searching for the Blob because I just really wanted to watch it, and I turned it on real low quality because Crackle used to have like really standard definition versions of things, and I remember watching it on there. And the child death toward the end in the sewer there, I didn't remember a lot of that film, and that was certainly something that I was not even in my brain. So when he pops up out of the water and he's like just totally disintegrating at the time, I was like, man, this film, as Dylan likes to say, really goes there. And
Does
I talked about weapons and kind of that. The thoroughness of the storytelling there. I think the Blob also has that, where it has great world building, has great character building. We care about a lot, even the sheriff, his relationship with the waitress, and that is something you want to see those two get together, and it takes a really wild turn that you didn't think they would be going that route with it. And they do a lot of that in the Blob. And I think that's why the 1988 version works so much compared to what you think a remake of something would be, especially when you're getting toward the late 80s and a lot of horror is kind of running on fumes after that big slasher wave. And this being kind of, just more of a creature feature in a sense than anything else. I would not have expected it to have the quality and staying power that it does. Because this is, when we talk about rewatchability, 1988's The Blob is one of the top tier, most rewatchable films for me.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, if you were sick from school, throw it on kind of movies. I would watch that like anytime I just need a boost. Like, it's just one of those feel good horror films. I would definitely make like that. And another one would be Return of the Living Dead. I'd put that in there. Night of the Creeps, like I said, like these 80s movies that just totally are just these random original. Sometimes they're even just remake, like the Blob is like of a 50s film. And they just bring so much energy and charisma to them. I love it. I love the cast in all those movies too. Like, they just do a really good job. And I just think we need more movies like it. We actually have a movie that fits well into that category, but it's not released yet. And it sucks. And I don't know anything else about it. I wish test screening would come out already.
I know that's a film that I think a lot of people are going to be talking about.
We've hyped it up too much now. I thought it'd be
well,
out sooner. So
you know,
it's like-
normally I'd be like, okay, we're hyping this thing up too much, but test screening, when that film comes out, everyone go see it, because if you like something like The Blob,
oh, we're gonna push that movie so hard.
yeah, it's gonna scratch the itch 100%. Because The Blob is a film that I'm very protective of, and when you say anything is reminiscent of The Blob, or again scratches that itch of something like The Blob, I'm hesitant going in. But I went into test screening with no expectation, and that film absolutely delivers. Again, it's got great world building, the way that the story is told, and where it goes in terms of some jarring imagery. It absolutely delivers. So I know we talk about it a lot on the channel, but it's one that once that is actually made available for everybody, we're making sure to push that one, because it's such a gratifying film, especially if you love a lot of those creature features from the 80s.
Absolutely. I can't wait to talk about that one once it's actually like has a release date. We have an interview with the writer of that, and Steven Susko. He was so generous with his time, and seriously one of the kindest people that we've gotten to meet. I'd put him right up there with Scott and Reese as like some of the people, the voices in horror that we've gotten to speak with. And this dude was like, he's great. Like Luke and I have spoken with him about some of our ideas, our scripts, things like that. He's given some advice. He's even watched some of our work and just been like, hey, this is good, given some constructive criticism. I love it. And yeah, I hope that maybe one day we'd be so lucky to have him, if not, co-write or at least produce something from us. Because I don't know, he just gives me that energy of like someone who just loves movies. And you could just get that from the conversation. I don't know, I might put that up on Patreon. Because like, what are we waiting for that one? You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
it's at this point, we thought we were going to save it for when the movie was getting closer to come out, but we're going to be like, by the time we hear anything about this, it's probably going to be another 2 years. So like we'd be almost 4 years out. That sucks, but I hope we get it. I think we will soon. So
yeah. And then, on a related note here, didn't Witchboard just come out with Chuck Russell?
Witchboard did just come out. Yes.
And we got a chance to see that one. When was that? Was that almost a year ago?
Those are both at our first Fantasia Fest, so a little over a year ago.
Okay, yeah. And man, that one did not hit at all. Chuck Russell, I got to interview him. Great guy. Very nice gentleman, but that film did not hit at all.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's it's one of those things you did get to talk a little bit about The Blob, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
or at least got to mention some of it.
Yeah, I did mention at least something, I think, toward the end there. I think we haven't posted that one. I gotta dig that one up so I can post it on Patreon.
Yeah, I think those two would be fun. And then once obviously we get some more news, some more things for each of those, we'll definitely have to put those out in their at least edited format. Let's see. Yes, I did, and I might see it this week. Oh, nice. Now there is one piece of news I do want to sneak in here real quick, just as a side piece. Just because I know there's fans of this in the chat, and I'm also now even more intrigued and, dare I say, actually pretty excited. I was excited when the Wayans brothers were sent to come back for Scary Movie, but on Friday we got some news that not only that, but Anna Faris and Regina Hall, the two OGs of the Scary Movie franchise, are returning. That's huge. That we have the original cast, like obviously the ones who survived, the original cast and the original creators all back. If they fuck this up, dude, I'm gonna be so upset. Like this seems like such an easy win for them. It should be.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Again, it feels like it should be an easy win, but I'm not gonna get overly excited about this one until we see something, because I think we've been burned before. After the second one, did the Wayans brothers jump off after the second one?
I believe it was after the second one,
yeah,
and then the third one is when it went to another team.
Because the third one, I think I only watched a little bit of it, and I turned it off. It just didn't feel, it lost the essence. Go ahead.
The third one was at my age. That was the one that was on TV all the time. So I love the third one, but also I think I love it because I really love Signs. And that's kind of like the big set piece movie that they're working around, because you have Charlie Sheen on the farm and everything.
Gotcha. Yeah, that one just did not connect with me, especially coming off of the first one and the second one are some of the most rewatchable films in terms of just being able to turn those on. I watch those, have a gummy and turn those on. You can't beat it. I think that sequel, the second one for me, is one of my all-time favorites. Absolutely. So, it's painful to say that I haven't seen fully the third one or anything past that, just because where the direction went just did not feel like it was the same. It wasn't that magic that I'm wanting. So I'm hopeful for 6. I'm excited that, Anna Faris and Regina Hall are both going to be back along with the Wayans brothers. So I'm hoping they're going to do something special with this one. Lord knows we have so much. We're in such a different place from 5 to 6 now, where there's so much content that you can actually put in there in terms of making parodies of different horror properties. So I'm excited to see what they're going to cook up.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at too. Again, with the Wayans brothers coming back and being behind it, I think it's gonna be one of those things where hopefully that's gonna be the missing element. I don't want it to be like, I'm honestly looking for like a Scream 4 scenario here, where it's like, it's somebody coming back, or like a New Nightmare scenario where it's like somebody coming back to the franchise, having the original people behind it again, and then it's different, but it's really good and really funny. And again, I think like there's so many avenues they could go down. There are so many avenues, dude. Like they could be poking fun at the public domain stuff that we're always covering. They could literally talk about the requel, then all elevated horror. I know everybody's throwing that out there, but like, dude, like they really have a lot of avenues they could tackle, and I kind of want them to do a little bit of everything and just talk about just like kind of all the little trends we've gone through with horror of the last, like, I mean, I don't even count. I didn't know there was a 5th film, to be honest, until just now. So I don't even really count 4 and 5. So that's just kind of where I sit with it. So
when did 5 come out?
2013.
Okay, yeah. So we've had a really long layover. So yeah, like in terms of like elevated horror and things, I don't know. Has there really been a big
stop?
Has there been a big like parody film like this? I know they were coming out with like vampire movie and
dude, it was the same team who killed Scary Movie. It was the Malcolm Lee and David Zuck, I believe. They did like Epic Movie and all that shit. Yeah,
those haven't come out in what better part of a decade. I think we've moved away from a lot of the parody stuff, at least like in terms of main and huge properties that come to the theater. I don't really recollect seeing any lately. So in terms of being able to move away from that and then now revisit it, and when is this? 2026 is supposed to come out, I'm assuming.
I believe 2026.
Just having that elevated horror, having things like Terrifier pop up.
Yeah,
it's going to be rather interesting to see what they're going to incorporate. So I'm hoping we're going to have a really intriguing story. At the very least, let's bring Chris Elliott back. I think, we need him in this. He's always a mainstay in part 2 and one of the most memeable and talked about characters ever. So I think we definitely need him back.
I cannot wait. That's going to be great. They said Vampire Suck was hilarious. Last good parody film. New Naked Gun. Okay, yeah, so that's true. We did just have the Naked Gun. I hear that's really good. And as I'm sitting here, I do need to eat some of my words on at least David Zuck's behalf, because this is the guy who directed Airplane, the first Naked Gun, and Basketball and a couple other things. But he really did drive the Scary Movie franchise into the ground. So, take your wins while you can get them. But I won't say he's total garbage for at least making Basketball and Airplane and all that. So
got a couple of wins.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose. Yeah, the new Naked Gun, it looks interesting. I'm definitely open to that. I like Liam Neeson in that too,
Brandon's got me right here.
Mm-hmm. I think him in playing, into comedy, Liam Neeson is someone, especially when you look at like the Taken franchise. I think it's so funny to watch him play in the comedy realm, because I'm so used to seeing him so serious, but I think it works so well. And hey, man, let's bring him back for Darkman.
And why don't we glide right into our next story then, sir, since you're already talking about the great Liam Neeson.
Certainly, certainly. So it was announced. We did get a teaser trailer for Cold Storage that's supposed to be coming out in 2026. This is kind of another creature feature in sharing some similar DNA to the Blob. Now, this one does also star Joe. Is it Joe Curie, I believe, and
Mhm.
Georgina Campbell, and so they're working at a storage facility that is underneath it has a closed military lab. And then we kind of have this fungus that does escape that lab, and hijinks ensue. Now, from the trailer, it looks like this is a pretty decent mix of comedy as well as that lovely gore with Liam Neeson um, playing off it. Seems like Joe Carey very well. So I'm certainly excited for this one. Plus, it's rated R for a lot of that gory goodness that we're hoping for. It looks like that we got some exploding heads in that teaser trailer as well. It's only a little bit, a little tidbit of what we're going to get, but it seems like they have a great handle on what this film's going to be. I just want to have a good time with it, to be honest.
Yeah, if that's a teaser trailer, I don't need anything else. I'm in. I think this looks like a whole lot of fun. We were just, like you said, talking about the Blob and just how that was set up, where it's like, you're taking your characters, you're throwing them into one situation, and it's just like this little town or this little area. And the fact that we're just throwing them in the middle of the desert, and now they're dealing with this outbreak or whatever the hell this is. I'm so sold on it. And yeah, I think that Joe Keery is one of the best from Stranger Things. I think he's one of my favorites that has come from that, even though he hasn't really had like the biggest, off that show performance as far as his movies go. But I think he has the potential to, and I really like his charisma. And I think that if he does well, yeah, because see, Violet brings up Spree. That's the
Yep,
only one that I remember him from. I didn't actually hate that movie. I know a lot of people did, but I thought it was fine. It was enjoyable.
I thought he had a fun performance in that. He's got that weird, he's funny, but then also scary at the same time, which, you see him in Steve and Stranger Things and you're kind of used to him in a certain role. But I thought his role in Spree was really well done. I don't think it's like the best film ever, but I thought it was rather entertaining for what we do get, and kind of seeing his demented side there. And his comedy delivery is always top notch. I mean, him as Steve, he was such a big talking point coming out of season 2. And there was a reason for that. So I've been excited to see what Joe Carey was going to do post Stranger Things once the schedule opens up a little bit more. I think Cold Storage is a great vehicle for him to. This is probably going to be what his next thing after Stranger Things ends. I think this is a great way to get started. Rubbing shoulders with Georgina Campbell, her from
That's
Barbarian.
A great call. Yeah.
And then also having a big name like Liam Neeson attached to this, and just that little interaction they have in the teaser trailer, I thought, it made me chuckle. So when we come to that comedy elements, it seems like they're intertwining those perfectly here. So again, Cold Storage looks like a great time. I'm hoping for some of those explosive kills, which it looks like we did get a little bit in the trailer. I'm hoping this is, one of those creature features where we're clamoring for a sequel. It's kind of got that Tremors feel to it. I don't know if it's because of the desert or something. They're almost like Eight-Legged Freaks as well. It's kind of got that funness to it. So again, I'm just hoping to have a lot of fun with this one.
I am too, man. And I was just looking at the director's filmography. This guy has primarily worked in television, a lot of stuff for the BBC. But he's also worked on things like Westworld and that Dracula miniseries, Shameless, both versions. So I think that's pretty good. I like that. I hope, and I enjoy that he's, coming out of this kind of in a very small contained horror film instead of them attaching this guy to like a Marvel movie. You know what I mean? Like I think that's the step that we've been missing a lot lately when it comes to picking our filmmakers for big projects like that. Not to turn this into a whole Marvel conversation, but like, I remember when people like James Gunn and other people were getting like, assigned as directors, Edgar Wright, even though I know he didn't make his movie, but it's like they had like small horror movies that came out before that. Like James Gunn had Slither and Super and a bunch of other stuff. And it's just like, we need to go back to that. We can't just have film and then attach them to it. I mean, look at Ryan Coogler. He made Fruitvale Station and then Creed before he got Black Panther. And it's like that guy is a voice for the ages.
Absolutely. It's like you need those building blocks, I think, before you jump into such huge filmmaking sometimes. I think, looking at Cold Storage, it scratches the itch that I think a lot of people are looking for. I think it's going to find that niche that we need. Creature features, Dylan, I don't know how you feel. I'm always kind of mixed in terms of like a modern audience. Do you think that there is a big modern, like a general audience for creature features, or is that kind of a little bit of a harder subgenre to sell for someone who just doesn't really know, is going to the theater to see something random? Is a creature feature, you think, a little harder to sell than something like, you know, a zombie flick or a vampire flick, where those ones are a little more established, where we do get creature features, but they're not, I don't think, as prevalent, especially at the theater normally, in terms of like probably over the, I'd say, what do you think, the last 10 years?
You know, I would say that for the most part, I think that is a correct way of thinking because of where we're at with just like the amount of creature features we get. But then I think of things like, and I know it's an established franchise, but I think of things like Jurassic Park. And then I think about things like Godzilla and just how like monsters do get people to the theater. Quiet Place got people to the theater. You know, stuff like that. I think it's just, it has to really bring the goods if it's going to be successful. You're going to solely rely on word of mouth as well. Because I don't think you could make a trailer for a creature feature and have people nowadays go all lining up day one and go see it. I think you need to wait until like your friend or your buddy who watches a bunch of movies, or the two nerds that you watch their horror movie reviews on their YouTube channel, tell you, hey, this is pretty good. So it's like that's where I think we're at mostly with creature features. I think they can be successful, but like just straight marketing to ticket sales, no. I think that it needs to be word of mouth.
Yeah, and that's where I think I'm at with it too, because I look at you know, something like a Jurassic Park or Godzilla, where I think that's a particular kind of creature feature where it's like, you know, we have the dinosaurs, and it's like, okay, Jurassic Park being such an established property, or Godzilla being established property, it's like we kind of know what we're going to get to a certain extent. I mean, you know, you go into Shin Godzilla or something like that, maybe it's a little bit of a different take than what some people were expecting. But, you know, I think Jurassic World has that connotation of it's a big, you know, we're getting big dinos, and that's what we're here for. Whereas something like Cold Storage, I'm assuming this is going to be released in theaters. I don't think we have any confirmation on that, but I'm assuming with some of the names attached that we'll probably at least get some sort of theatrical run. But like this, I equate to even like when the Blob comes out, I'm a little hesitant to it because it's like this big, it's a blob, you know, and it's like, how do you sell that to a general audience? Or even something like Slither, which I don't think did well at the time. And yeah, we're further removed from Slither, and audiences are different now. But, you know, I think that film was a little bit harder to market because it's this kind of gooiness, you know, just this disgustingness that I think maybe could be off-putting. But then you look at something like The Substance, and I think maybe that is where we're going to find maybe a bigger selling point where, yeah, it's gooey, it's gross, even together to a certain extent. Yeah. That might be able to capitalize, you know, if something Cold Storage comes out and we kind of double down on people exploding or just that grossness factor to it. I think maybe people may be open to it because we're getting a little bit more body horror now, and you might be able to sell it that way to a general audience.
Yeah, I think that would probably be the smarter route to go in the marketing, is sell it more of a body horror movie and then move forward with it. But then we also have like little movies that get like a lot of love from general audiences, like Attack the Block from, I know, 10 years ago, but like still, it's like that is a movie that kind of surprised people. Cabin in the Woods, I know that's not Luke's favorite movie, but like that still gets a lot of love. But then you got to think like back to the last time, I mean, and not the last time, but one of the final times we've had a really giant creature feature that's not already an established property was Cloverfield, and that was 2007, I want to say. So it's like I'm just looking at like a list right now, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot. I guess the only thing that I can say was actually a surprise that made money, but again, I think it's mostly because of a horror audience. I want to say that it was Crawl, because, you know, you're talking about killer alligators, killer crocodiles kind of thing. You know, that's really, I think, the last movie that really I could qualify as a creature feature other than A Quiet Place that made a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it's like one of those things I think we have a problem with, just because you look at something like Crawl, and it's certainly got a groundedness to it, I think, where it's like, oh, it's an alligator. Was it an alligator or a crocodile?
I think it's alligators. Yeah,
I was looking at the
spongy. Yeah.
And you know, it's like, okay, well, in theory, this could actually happen to an extent where I think it kind of gets muddled, where this is a harder sell. It's a fungus, so it's like it gets a little difficult
Well,
to sell.
I mean, The Last of Us, if you kind of go with that approach, maybe you could get lucky and people kind of take it that way. I don't think the trailer's like doing that bad of selling it.
No, I don't think so at all. I'm sold 100%,
Yeah.
but we're horror fans. We're like ready for this stuff. So it's like, hey, you would have given me I was sold before a teaser trailer. I was sold when it was a fungus coming out of a lab. I was like, that's all I need.
When you see the soldier sit up with half his head gone and it's all green, it's like, yeah, I'm in,
Yeah, it's like, all I need to know is that concept of something escaping a lab and it's going to be a fungus, and that's where we're going to go with it. Well, hey, I don't need to see anything. Hey, don't give me a teaser. I don't need anything. I will be in the theater if that's where we're going with it, because I'm already excited for it. But it's like when you're trying to sell a killer fungus, I don't know. And yeah, I think Last of Us could be a way into it, certainly. With its comedic tone, it certainly has a different feel to it. I'm hoping this one produces. Like, I want more creature features, and I'm hoping, as we establish something like The Substance in terms of the body horror and the grossness that we get, or any of the other body horror stuff that's going to be coming out, or I'm hoping we get some more prevalent creature features that come out there, that this becomes more of a norm, where it's like we talk about Weapons and Zach Crager kind of having these off the wall, true blue horror tales to tell, and those selling at the box office, where it's like, my hope is, and I'm hoping it's not a big ask, is that, hey, general audiences are being really open to this kind of off the wall horror and say, hey, I just want to watch something that's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm hoping, especially with after some of the recent releases that we've had, that Cold Storage is going to be another one where it's like, hey, it's got Joe Keery, it's got Steve from Stranger Things, it's got Liam Neeson in it as well. So it's like, I'm hoping this one produces at the theater, because, hey, we need more creature features.
I agree. I mean, you're not going to twist my arm with that. So like, me and my creature features, but I would agree. I think that like the biggest thing that I want to see from creature features that I think are underserved, obviously, if I'm being selfish, I'm going to say werewolves. I always want to see some good werewolf movies, especially with how controversial they've been recently. I would like to see a really good Bigfoot movie. It's been a while. I want to see something really solid. That's memorable. Like I love things like Willow Creek and stuff, but I want to see a big practical effects Bigfoot a la Abominable. I want to see that. I want to see something with a lot of care. I mean, Luke and I talk about it a lot. It's definitely a topic we've touched on with a few scripts. And, I think like I want to see that, but I think you're touching on something with that body horror angle too. It's like, it's just strange to me that like, it seems like we went from, like the Hereditary in 2018 kind of became a big opening again for modern horror to kind of start to become more mainstream again. I guess I would say, where more people were paying attention to it enough that the box office would reflect that. And I think overall we've kind of progressed from the scenes in Hereditary in which people are getting their heads chopped off with piano wires and poles and stuff, to something like last year's The Substance being nominated for Best Actress and all that. And it's like, you could see the trajectory of like the general audience's appetite just going more and more for like body mutilation and disfigurement. And it's interesting. So I'm wondering if we can kind of bridge that gap, like you said, and get into more monstery stuff. I mean, you can have me sitting here talking about like creature features and how we could win them back for hours, but that's the last I'll say on it.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. It's like, I'm hoping how progressive the genre is becoming toward a general audience, and kind of getting these films out there that are like, probably, 20 years ago would have just been hidden gems nowadays. There'd be articles being like, oh, you forgot about this film, or you forgot about that film, probably on par with something like Slither, where I'm hoping now that those films feel like they're getting the time of the day over the last few years, that, over the next couple of years of things that we don't even know that are going to be coming out. Like we talk about test screening. I'm hoping that film finds an audience, especially Cold Storage coming out. I think, that film could easily find an audience if given that time of day. So I'm really hoping, as we navigate these waters of horror, that these films, especially creature features, make a resurgence, because I put this on par with werewolf films, where it's like those two subgenres seem to be kind of hard to gear toward a bigger audience, or I guess it's harder to please the audience because, you know, one side wants this, one side wants that. But at least, you know, when you look at creature features, you kind of know what you're getting with that. It's supposed to be a fun time, you know, add in that elements of horror. I think Cold Storage could easily do that. It looks like they have a great handle on the concept, some big names attached. So I'm hoping this is one that is going to be that catalyst to be like, hey, you want a fun time at the theater? Just go hop on a creature feature and see what we got. So I'm hoping this one's going to be a big win. It looks like it's got a lot of the players in place for us to have a really good time with it.
Yeah, I think SS here they brought up a really good question. Here it is. What would be a good creature that hasn't been used yet? Like thinking like Lizard Man. I actually have a handful of cryptids that I think would be worth exploring. Two that I think are underutilized are obviously the Chupacabra. I think we need like a big time blowout Chupacabra movie, as well as a Jersey Devil movie.
Someone said Wendigo. I haven't really heard of any Wendigo movies except for maybe like one.
Yeah, Wendigo movies are totally done like they're always mishandled. I feel like we haven't had a really solid Wendigo movie in a minute.
Yeah, I think they're on par with werewolves as well, where it's like we see, you know, and it's fine to inject a psychological aspect to your film, but I think Wendigo films have become the norm in terms of psychological as much as werewolves have become, where it's like it's not actually a beast, it's more of a psychological aspect, it's more of a social commentary on something or other, and it becomes a little bit underwhelming when you're sold one thing and get another. And if it's well done, hey, that's great. But when it becomes the norm of not getting the build beast in a sense, it becomes like, I wish, you know, there's an appetite for it. And you get excited when you actually get something like that because you're just, you know, they're throwing these scraps at that point. And I think there are Wendigo stories out there, but they just tend to be completely mishandled, especially by the third act. And you kind of understand what you're getting. Like Until Dawn was one that we were really excited about that left us a bit underwhelmed just because of the way they handled the story, you know. So Wendigos are another one that I think really need a very prominent
Ravenous
story, very
is probably
scary.
I would agree with Penelope here. Ravenous is probably the last really solid, really good Wendigo movie. And they don't even go as hard with like him becoming a, you know, obviously like how we see Wendigos today with like the monstrous look. It's more of that traditional human eating flesh becoming a monster that way kind of thing. Can I take a one minor detour here and show you guys a creature that if any of you take this and you write a script and sell it, I hate you. Don't do that because it's mine. Okay, I found this. I didn't create it, but I found it.
You discovered the scripted?
No, I didn't. I found a video about it and it was interesting. But I love the picture and I wanted to show you guys. So actually, you know what? If you do get a script made, congratulations. Just make it a good movie, please. Welcome to the Bat Squatch, everybody. This thing looks incredible. And I really want to make a movie with this. Look how awful that thing would be. It flies. It looks like a werewolf. It's a bat, but it's a Sasquatch. I mean, just the Bat Squatch name. You could sell a movie called Bat Squatch.
What's the lore attached to this thing?
So it's allegedly it was seen around Mount St. Helens in the 1980s. And like you can read right here, it resembles a flying primate kind of deal. But no, this thing's super cool. It was there's been a couple of little stories. Again, I don't know what's true and what's not, obviously, with it being cryptids. Anybody could be making their stuff up, but like this one they mentioned from 1998 about the driver of a truck hogging logs in northern Oregon. He came into collision with a bat squatch. That was one of the videos I read, or didn't read but listened to. And then there's a bunch of little fun ones. I gotta remember the channel that does them, but there's a bunch of nice little interpretations. Oh, that's too small, but where's it at? See, it's like even if you go like more of a traditional route, I still think it's a creepy enough idea and an interesting enough idea that you could have some fun with it. And the design, it's something I've never seen or never even heard of, but it's essentially just kind of living up in the mountains, and it comes down and tries to pick people up and carry them away and does what it does with them. So
well, I think we go a character piece with this, where it's like more of a somber story where he's been ostracized by the bat community as well as the Sasquatch community, and he's just living in the mountains by himself and is trying to find a place where he can really fit in.
I like that too.
Yeah, and see, like a lot of people are mentioning, the Mount St. Helens eruption and everything. Yep, that's what they say brought it out, because it was like trapped within the mountain and stuff is one of the things that they theorize. So yeah, Bat Squatch, I would love that. There's a bunch of them. There was one that Anthony Cousins, when we interviewed him, I forget what it's called, but it's a pair of pants out in the desert.
Oh yeah, I forgot what that's called, but yeah, it's like one of the ones that he'd love to tackle, I think. Didn't he say that?
Yeah, and it's just such a weird one. I remember I have to figure out what it is. The only other thing that I could think would be really kind of cool, and I think this is just spawning from my love of the descent, but I'd love to. There's a lot of great tales about these Appalachian, like Neanderthalic mountain men that just live up there, but like don't make them like the Wrong Turn people where they're all deformed and stuff. Just make them literally like they are a subspecies of human that's just like kind of held up in the caves, and they come down and steal people. Like I think that would be a really great story. Some really creepy stuff, because you don't have to go too wild there. But you know, there's all kinds of stuff. Like if you go on the cryptid wiki, there everybody just comes up with everything. Like I've read through so many of these. There was another one.
I'd love to see some more creepy Appalachian horror. Ever since I heard that the Appalachian mountain range is like the oldest mountain range on Earth, and it's got like a bunch of species of plants and trees and stuff up past a certain altitude that only grows there, it just makes me think of like all the cool types of micro universes you could do. You could even do like little cave worlds and stuff. I've heard stories about giants living in mountains out, in the West. You could do that there too. Matter of fact, I'd love to see a movie that would be like Bone Tomahawk, but giants. That would be nuts.
Oh, that'd be fucking sweet. Like, yeah, just a hunting party in the Old West. Oh my god,
that'd be so cool, man. I feel like Attack on Titan is like the only thing that has really messed around with giants that I'm aware of.
The other creature I was thinking of, it's called the Nandy Bear. I have a picture of it here, but it's again nothing too specific. It's been spotted. It's been a lot of people say it's another kind of bear or something that died off back in, like, they have reports of it from like the early 1900s. But the Nandy Bear, let me get this shared to you, is also pretty creepy looking, pretty imposing. It's almost like a saber-toothed tiger and a bear put together. So it's kind of horrific. A lot of people thought they were hyenas, but when they started popping up in North America, that became an issue. And they were like, where the fuck are these things coming from? And that's why they theorized that they're a different creature called the Nandy Bear. But they're a lot of fun. I think they could be terrifying. Bears just scare me in general. So yeah, that's just
what I said. You could almost shoot a movie that's like, same cutaways like in Pulp Fiction or in Weapons. And you could just do one where somebody gets killed by what looks to be a bear, and another one where somebody gets killed by what looks to be a tiger or a mountain lion or whatever. And then you find out at the end it's both. I mean, to everybody else that isn't hip, that could be a cool little plot twist there.
There you go. Yep. But there's a whole ton. I mean, we could go down for hours, but like there's an Indian chupacabra. I forget the name of that one, but that one was pretty creepy looking. He like talks to you and stuff. Sounds like kids. It's a lot of really fun stuff. And then not really a cryptid, but the story that I always want to be like adapted, something I've been saving for a list, but I really don't know how to talk about it, so I'll just mention it here, is the Sukabetsu brown bear incident massacre. If anybody's heard about this, there's a channel on here. Oh god, what's his name? I'll just pull it up here. It's really good. Any cryptids for you fellas while I'm looking this up?
No, nothing that speaks to me in terms of, but I'm not as well versed in the cryptid universe. I know the mains, but I don't know anything like Bat Squatch or anything like that. So
all right,
they should do some like live action adaptations of some copy or creepypastas or whatever. Like I know Slender Man was like a media phenomenon for a minute, but I felt like they just kind of made movies about that for the money. I'd love to see an actual like serious creepy Slender Man movie.
Yeah, I think like there's a lot of fun stuff there. I wonder. I feel like studios are still steering away from that because of that. Even though it was a long time ago, the little girl.
The girl stabbing the other, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes it creepier though. I mean, not
Mm.
that that's okay.
And then this is the film. It's from, or this is the YouTube video. It's if you guys ever want to check it out, it's the Sikabetsu Brown Bear Incident by Bob Gimlin. It's horrifying. It is truly a very scary story. It's one of those ones that like you guys hear me talk about these disturbing ass movies and shit that scares me and stuff all the time in these lists, and I say that they're truly disgusting, truly awful. This is one that like I will put this on at night thinking that I'm going to fall asleep to it, and I'll get to a certain part shortly, probably like in the first 15 minutes of the video, and then I usually have to turn it off because I'm just like so unsettled. I love the way this guy narrates, but like this shit's awesome. So that's what I got for you.
Exciting
My
stuff.
contribution. Let's see here. Any final pieces of news that we want to kind of dive into? I know we have cold storage done, so that was the main three. Anybody else got anything else they really want us to cover news-wise real quick? Or if not, we'll glide right in to our review for Hell House, Chapter 3. Brian Bartino's Vicious, if anybody has heard of that I'm looking forward to that. I really liked The Dark and the Wicked, and oh god, what was it? The Strangers, obviously, the first one, not The Strangers Chapter 1.
Yeah, no, it looks exciting. I mean, what does that come out in October? I think streaming.
Yes, Paramount.
So I'm excited to see what he's going to bring. Dark and the Wicked's fantastic. Strangers is an absolute all-time classic. So this one, it caught me by surprise that it's going to go to streaming like that, like straight to streaming. So, I mean, I don't hate it, but it'll be easily accessible if we don't see it prior to that. I think that's at Fantastic Fest as well, which they dropped a handful of different films that are going to be available at Fantastic Fest. So that looks
I figured
exciting.
We're going to have to do another stream with that one again where we go through and talk about all the movies, because there's a whole bunch of shit going to Fantastic Fest this year, guys. It's absolutely bonkers. Those who keep up with that stuff know exactly what we're talking about. So
it's going to be a busy time.
Oh yeah. And Brandon brought up the clip for Strangers Chapter 3. I did watch it. It's, I guess, we're going full bore into it, baby. They're ready to go. So Strangers Chapter 2 better work out. I'm very curious to see what the hell happens in this movie now that see that little clip from 3. So
I didn't see it yet. I didn't know it was out there when they released it on.
I figured Brandon put it out like he tagged us like maybe like 2 hours ago.
Oh, okay.
So it's like it was right before the show started. So
okay, that's why I didn't see it. Okay, because I was looking at stuff earlier this morning, didn't run across anything. I'll have to take a look at it. So they've committed.
They are committed. They're already showing footage.
2.
So yeah, they didn't put a little teaser for Chapter 2 at the end. They're like, let's see how this one pans out, boys. And they were like, oh fuck, that's not good. That's not good. Yeah, I mean, like, I'll save my thoughts for that one, the Fantastic Fest stuff, really. Just because, again, I think we could do a whole video on that. The only other thing that was kind of eye-catchy for me that would be a brief little story before we do this Hell House review is that there was, where did it go? I don't remember the title, so that's why I have to find the little thumbnail here. Where'd it go? Talk about anything else while I'm looking for this.
Yeah, I mean, as we talk good into The Strangers, I mean, Chapter 2 is going to be the big question mark. I'm excited to see that clip of Chapter 3. I'm assuming we'll probably cover it next week on the show since
yeah, we can do that.
So new. But Chapter 2 is going to be the big deciding factor. The trailers are a little iffy. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, but hoping for the best. And it's just when you have the measuring stick of the original, and then also even Pray at Night. Those two films are wildly different, I think, but they both work perfectly for that franchise. And then bringing the strangers back to not really do anything too different. Chapter 2 is hopefully going to win back a handful of the audience, because I know a lot of people were so sour on it.
Yeah, so this was what caught my eye, was Human. Did you look at any of this, Luke?
No.
Okay, so this is being described as like Evil Dead 2. I know a lot of things get described that way, but this movie sounds absolutely nuts. Here, where's the little description? Is this it? It's past midnight as Danny Ferris is a woman all alone away from home. A woman who who's tired as hell, wanting nothing more than a little tease of digital debauchery before shutting her eyes. A woman not even remotely prepared for the roller coaster of emotions she's about to ride with on a front row seat. So that doesn't like necessarily give you too much, but when you watch the little trailer here, this looks like a bloody blast of a good time. I mean, you can see this image here. It looks gross. It looks upsetting. I can't really describe much of it because it's not safe for YouTube. But I'm just saying, look into it. It looks wild. It's definitely going to be something I want to keep my eyes out for.
Absolutely, I'll take a look at it.
They even described it. I think this works too, just from what I saw, like very early Peter Jackson. So think about like Brain Dead and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So lots of gore, lots of fluids, other things. So coming from a specific orifice. But yeah, it's interesting. But I would just say look into that at your own risk. And yeah, why don't we hop in to this review portion? Because yes, Luke, you're taking this journey with us. We've been going down the rabbit hole here for a little bit. We're now on House LLC 3. And for those of you who have not seen the series, we are going into spoilers towards the end of our conversations here. We'll try not to do too much of spoiling, but we will definitely let you know before we hop in there. And yeah, this is been kind of at this point, would you say a little bit of a up and then a very slight down before sitting down to watch Hell House 3?
I slight, I don't know. It was a pretty good downward spiral for the second one, at least for me. Just didn't really have too many redeeming qualities. So yeah, I'd say pretty nice up for that first one, and then a pretty steep down for the second one. So the third one was a deciding factor here as to what side this was going to go to.
And now that you've seen it and you understand that we're dealing with a much bigger film here, and not only concepts, but also just kind of how they decide to reuse the Abaddon Hotel, how do you feel?
I'll say the original Hell House is still sitting over there by itself in terms of the category of a really good film. Is this one, the third one, joins the second one. They're in the buddy system of being just two ones that completely missed the mark for me.
Yeah, what was it about this one that drove you crazy? Was it the reveals of some of the, I guess you'd call the higher power that is accompanying a few of our characters, or is it the just the whole concept of this? I guess what is it? It's like a show, like a live show in a sense, like a isn't it like it's been a little bit since I watched it. This is the one where it's the
yeah, I guess it's a live show that they're doing throughout the Abaddon Hotel. I guess
the interactive audience show.
Yeah, the best way to equate it. And that portion wasn't a deal breaker for me. I thought when we got into this, the sequel, and they're kind of in the studio for such a long period of time, and I felt that was a little lazy. I know they're laying groundwork, and conceptually, it's like, okay, we found an excuse to kind of still do the found footage aspect in the studio to a certain extent. It just felt a little lazy to me, where it's like, okay, they're doing the green screen stuff. They're trying to lay a lot of exposition here before we actually get to the Abaddon. Whereas this one, it I give them credit where it's kind of like, okay, we're actually not just stuck in a studio. We're doing something, building sets, that type of thing, laying the groundwork for the story that's going to unfold. So that wasn't really a deal breaker for me. But as we got deeper into the story, it's just, for me, void of the eeriness that we got in the first one. The scares aren't there. And then when we get into this really grand idea of what we're dealing with, I just was like, this is really where we are taking this story. I didn't expect that from what we get, the eeriness of that first one. It's just more of a contained story. And then the third one just gets so far out there. And then by the time we get to the end of it, and that final scene of where we get with characters, and it, for me, just, I was a little eye rolly. I was like, I don't need this in the Hell House franchise. This is not what I'm expecting. This is not any sort of conclusion that I was clamoring for. I didn't want to see in what we do get. I didn't leave the first one saying, oh, I wish we would see this or we would see that. So by the time we get to it, I think it was supposed to be like this gratifying moment. And I was just like, this is not what I need for my horror franchise.
Yeah, this was definitely for me the moment where I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I was not big on, I guess, where they decide to go with this. Again, I've said very consistently throughout this trilogy that I think when you get these ideas and they become too big and so out there and so many stakes that aren't just like, this group of people in a haunted hotel, you're now talking about unleashing basically hell on earth. That's a lot for a little tiny found footage film to like kind of take on. And I just felt like we really don't need that. We really don't need you guys to be like going that big. You had something cooking so well in that first movie with those really slow, genuinely creepy little scares and just like really giving us that sense of, well, is this actually haunted or is somebody fucking with them or what's going on? It's like by the time you get here and they're introducing the concept of like, one person's an angel and one person, it's all this the incarnation of the devil and everything. It's like, what are we doing, guys? Why did we feel the need to go this big with it?
Yeah, it just didn't feel as natural as I think it should have. I think they really should have just focused on telling these horror stories and building that eeriness. If you want to go back to the Abaddon Hotel, fine. I think it's a good setting for a horror story as long as you kind of keep it versatile and don't retread everything. But to bring this good versus evil aspect to it, heaven and hell or whatever you want to do with it, it just didn't work. It loses the tone of what made the original Hell House so great and really just tries to get, I think, in its own head where I don't know if this was an original 3-story arc as to what we were going to need for each installment, or the first one hit and then Stephen Cognetti was like, oh, what can I do to get more mileage out of the film? For me, it certainly feels like that. So I don't know if this was an organic trajectory of the story or it was just like that first one hit and it was like, okay, I definitely want to do a sequel, but where can I take it after a sequel? And it was just kind of this 2-part, this is how I can wrap it up for part 3 and just kind of get bigger and bigger with it. It just felt like, when you look at building a story in a grander scale, it kind of seems like a safe play, what we get toward the conclusion of it, but it just feels underwhelming because that's not what I needed. I just want these scary stories to be told for Hell House. And I think it started losing that with this grander story to say, oh no, this was a complex story from the beginning, and I'm going to wrap it all back around.
And then them just having to not only do that, but then also doing the whole, like, I mean, we kind of knew that they were opening a gate, but like, again, I like that idea and I'm fine with that, but it's one of those things where it's like, that should have just been where you left it, where it was like, that was the end of that story. It's like they opened a gate to a portal to hell. It eventually got closed. Nobody knows how. And I think that would have been creepy. That would have been scary to see what did this let into our world. And then the rest of the series could have been you going to different haunts. And then, what would have been cool is if we explored a different haunt in 2, and then we're start exploring a different haunt here. And then we find out, wait, this has some kind of an odd connection or callback to the Abaddon Hotel. going all the way back to the first one, but don't like make this the whole thing. You know what I mean? Don't make it like, ooh, we're recreating stuff and, you know, we're going to open a whole new interactive experience instead of a haunted house this time. It feels very Jurassic World, and being a defender of that franchise, it does feel very much like, ooh, we're going to come back, we're going to redo the park, like we're going to open it up. It's like, come on, don't do that.
Yeah, it feels like they kind of just wanted to retread a little bit. And again, I don't think it was a deal breaker to do this interactive whatever. You know, you see these where we did the haunted house in the first one, and when tragedy strikes, you know, I think there's money to be made in terms of, you know, people wanting to be scared. So it doesn't seem so off the wall to kind of rekindle this and do an interactive, you know, play or whatever the hell they're doing. It just wasn't an interesting avenue to explore. I think, you know, the money is, like Dylan said, we're more so making those connections with different haunts, if that's the story that wants to be told. But again, it feels like this was, hey, I need to double down on the Abaddon Hotel, and we're going to tell more of a safe story rather than try to add some complexity to it and do different haunts and then tie it all back together. That's why I think maybe this wasn't necessarily a already planned out thing where it was just like, okay, the first one hit, now let's see what we can do with the next ones. Because I think, you know, you could have very easily, I think it would have been kind of hit you in the face to be like, oh, let's just do different haunts for the entire franchise.
Yeah.
Where it's like, nope, let's double down on the Abaddon Hotel. So I think, you know, I think maybe it was written more so after the initial success of the first one. I don't know.
It
I
feels
don't,
that way, right? It does. And I don't think they've ever been dishonest about that. I think that they were very upfront about, like, and that's why I don't hate the creatives for this. It's just, this works for people though. There are people who like this story and how it gets into the broader topics of heaven and hell, and, you know, brings all these cultists and all these demons and all these other things up front. It's just one of those things for me where it's like, I'm watching Supernatural right now. I'm fine if there's an angel or a devil or a demon that comes through and is like, I am the all-powerful, all-being, one of Satan's minions. You know, I'm fine with that. That show, that's what they do. But Hell House was this simple little found footage, creepy story that got under my skin. And both of these have had moments that are cool, but I've never felt nearly as focused or as scared as I did watching that first movie that I did here until we get to 4. So, but before we dive into that, let's just do some spoilers now. Luke, the moment for me that really threw me over the edge was once we get the full reveal of our angel character here.
Yeah.
I gotta know, when was it for you where you were just like, okay, no, I'm not feeling this?
I wasn't interested in a lot of the film at all. It was like more so as you're going through the actual film itself, you start piecing together, oh, they're going to do this or they're going to do that. And I remember, like, very vividly one of the scenes that when we get into, I think it's supposed to be heaven, where it's like the white room.
Yep.
And
I think so, or purgatory of some kind.
Yeah, whatever it's supposed to be. But you have the mannequins that are dressed in white, and I was like, oh, these things are gonna come alive at some point, and you're gonna be able to see, and and then very shortly after that, you see one in the doorway, and I was just like, being able to call that stuff in the creativeness of that first one, and some of those scares catching you off guard and not knowing what they're going to do, but then jumping into 3 and being like, oh, you can point this out or you can point that out. It just felt, again, very generic. It felt so pre-planned in terms of what they were going to build, and they never really took a left turn anywhere. But yeah, when we go into the narrative, what for me, like a legitimate eye roll, was the introduction to this angel character. It played off like it was supposed to be way more complex than, it'd be like, oh, this commentary toward it. And I was like, again, I don't need this with my Hell House. I don't want this. I just want the eeriness of the first one. And then when they're trying to lay that all out, the fallout of exactly what's going on. And
how Alex, basically sacrificed his soul to make the haunt a success and all that. It's like,
yes,
you're doing too much, guys.
And also, I'm forgetting the one character's name, but was I off base in thinking that, like, when they show her selfies that she posted online, and it's like you very vividly see like a guy hanging in the background, and it's like,
I'm pretty sure, yeah,
she posted these online and didn't think anything of, like, oh, that guy wasn't back there. Like, she's just there smiling, and they were still online. For me, I just thought that was so odd in terms of what we're supposed to, and believability wise, as to what we were getting there. So I was like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah. Hey, Helen, how's it going? And then, yeah, Mama Mayhem here says they couldn't decide if they were doing Faust or Dante. And I agree. They it seems like they're going for that 9 circles of hell type thing at first. And then it's like they're kind of trying to, I guess, say that it's all of these different pieces and parts of lore or things that we've seen in literature that describe hell and everything are all one and the same, which could be a cool idea. But again, I just feel like we're so far away from what I loved about that first movie and what makes this a successful film. I felt like, especially after seeing the fourth one, which I'm about to, kind of, we'll do a little bit of talking about that to prepare you, because I think this is, and I think many people in our chat agree with me, that the fourth one is a complete rejuvenation of the franchise. Things get scary again. And yeah, it's really good how they're able to make this a part of this world and make it exciting and creepy and fun. So for me, I think that if you love this franchise and you do it, that's great. But this is just one of those things where it's very clear that these creatives didn't have an idea of where they wanted to go. They didn't even have it cemented, I think, by the time they finished writing the second one. And this just feels like we have all these ideas. Let's get them out of our system and throw it at the wall. And that's fine. If you like this, I'm not judging. It's just one of those things for me where it's just like, I just think this is a franchise that got pretty far off the rails, but very much, at least in the fourth one, I can say before we get into it, they picked it up. They figured out what they were doing wrong, at least for some of us. And I think the fourth one is just up there with me as the first one. I think there's still a couple of scares in that first one that are absolutely terrifying that will never be matched. But I think the fourth one does a really good job of going back to the roots of the franchise.
Okay, perfect. And I'm not asking for, the absolute comparable quality of the first one. I think the first one is such a great film, and has that eeriness to it. But I'm just hoping with these that there's something at least in that conversation to say, not as good, but at least I can feel satisfied in some sense when I'm talking about the Hell House franchise, because first one's great. Now I'm dealing with 2 strikes, so I'm hoping for the fourth one here that it's going to have some sort of redeeming qualities in terms of the eeriness and the scares that I want, because I think that first one just got a lot of great scares to it and keeping you on your toes of not knowing what to expect. And then I think I experienced it with 2, and I certainly experienced it with 3, where it's like you can kind of see a lot of everything coming before it even shows up on screen. It's like you can really start picking out those scares. It just feels like, Stephen Cognetti took a lot of time to really write that first film. And then it was like, oh, wait, I didn't know it was going to hit as deep as it did. And then now I got to pump out 2 other scripts. I feel like that quality just wasn't there, that the care wasn't there, probably because you were jumping right in production of those films. Unfortunately, that stuff sucks when you have something that is so great in that first film and then the other 2 just don't work. So I'm hoping with that fourth one, I can get back on board with Hell House, just because, hey, 2 strikes, it's not looking great.
Yeah. It's one of those ones where it's like, it is frustrating, but I was really fortunate to start watching this series shortly after we got the screener for the fourth one. I had literally seen the first one. I was such a big fan. I heard there was a fourth one coming out in a month. And I reached out to Stephen Cognetti and his team, and they were so kind to send me a screener of that. So I gunned through these 2 and was like, oh boy, what have I signed myself up for? And then got to the fourth one, and I was like, that's what I signed myself up for. Hell yeah. So I was like, let's go. And I'm curious. We still at this time have not watched the last one. Just due to timetables and everything, we will be watching the last one. I think we might be sitting down tomorrow to review it, right, Luke? If we can get it watched, or tomorrow or Tuesday.
Yeah, depending on what interviews we have lined up potentially for tomorrow. So
yeah, we got some fun stuff on the horizon. Still trying to pan some things out. But at the end of the day, I think this is super super cool, super well done. Definitely one of those things that I'm excited for you to watch. So I hope that you really enjoy the fourth one as much as I did, or at least even if you say like, hey, it's back to some of the roots. It's at least a little bit of a scary kind of gotcha. I think for me, the fourth one uses the space and the haunt, the story so much better, so much more contained, so much creepier, really focusing on a mystery rather than, we are literally raising hell on earth. If you don't stop this, it's the end of the world. It's like, okay, well, we get that. A lot of movies do that.
I want to throw up all over myself because it's so scary. Dylan, are you saying that that's going to happen?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
That's what's going to happen. You're going to piss your pants and shit and puke. And we're demonetized. Boom.
Done and done. It was worth it.
Hell yeah. No, that's about where I thought you'd wind up, honestly, with this series so far. So I'm hoping that I can get a full house here with my with what it is. And I'm going in just as blind with you on the fifth one. What we know is they're not doing the found footage thing this time. So
I'm excited for that aspect, actually. I think
I am too.
Changing up that format, giving us a different feel to it. I think it, at least with these two, it didn't work. So, the fourth one could be a hit with the found footage. But I think even if these ended up being a hit, all four of them, I think, sometimes you need to switch up that style. I commend them for having the balls to switch up a style like that in terms of being already four in, and then that fifth one changing it up to more of a cinematic narrative.
Understood. Yes. Adrian, you've not been on this path with us once, my boy. You have not watched a single Hell House movie, just the way our schedules have all lined up. So I'm going to extend an invitation. Would you like to check out Hell House Carnegie Manor, since it is technically a prequel?
Put me in, coach.
All right, cool. So you can watch that one. It's Hell House Origins. I believe it's on Shudder still, so you should be able to watch that if you have that account, or we can give you ours or whatever. And it's it'll be fun. I think having you in there would be a good time, considering again you're not picking up. It would be very hard for you to jump on board after the first Hell House to just be like, what the fuck is going on? Who is this person? Why is everybody so fucking mad and scared? Like, it'd be fun. So I think watching that one would be good. And then yes, we will have our review for the new Hell House Lineage, what is being called the final Hell House, up this week. So it'll definitely probably more than likely be Tuesday or Wednesday. Again, we're just gonna have to see where we're sitting with a couple of interviews, which I guess I can mention that too as we're wrapping things up here. Got some fun potential interviews coming up. We're still trying to cement some times. I can guarantee you we're definitely going to be speaking with Scott eventually here from Winnie the Pooh and, Neverland Nightmares. He's coming back on. We're going to talk a little bit about what to expect for the future of the universe and really just get a sense for how things have been going and behind the scenes. Maybe he tends to be very generous to us. I don't know why, but he tends to give us some morsels and nuggets that, maybe we can get a Bloody Disgusting article out of. I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, Scott is a wonderful human being. So, anytime we get to sit down and just chat with him, it's one of those interviews. You can't even call it an interview. It's just like a sit down. It's so casual where we don't even prepare anything. We just kind of go in and start chatting with him. So who knows what we're going to really pull out of that conversation. Of course, we'll get some interesting tidbits from him. He is so insightful with not just the Pooniverse, but just horror in general and directions that he wants to go and inspirations that he likes to talk about. So I'm excited for that one. I know he's a plethora of knowledge in the horror realm. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he's going to talk about with Richard Stanley, where they're going to go with Blood and Honey 3, if they even have a solid direction at this moment, or what they're going to be doing with the Monsters Assemble and of course Pinocchio and Strong. So got a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah, and I think it's going to be fun regardless. And I'll definitely be able to piece together some kind of a video going forward. I know once Pinocchio comes out pre-Pooniverse, I want to do like a big video just going down and ranking the Pooniverse and just kind of going through each and every one. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a cat.
There he is.
There she is. This Lily. She's a sweet girl.
Right here. When I first got her, she was white as a ghost, man. Turns out the previous owners just weren't feeding her enough.
Damn. But yeah, she's a good kitty. She's a good girl. Atticus loves her. She does not love Atticus. That tends to be how it is though with toddlers and cats. He's too much energy. He gets too excited. I will say no, your one kitty though, your boy, they get along somewhat.
El Champo, dude.
He'll play
He
with
gets
them at
along with
least.
everybody.
Yeah.
He'll cry to go outside and play with the neighborhood kids. Sad.
Adorable. But yeah, we got that. And then we are currently circling another interview. I don't want to say what for or who, just because I don't want to get hopes up in case, because it's seeming like we're coming down to the wire and we might be on different continents. So I have to wait for a response. We'll see. And yeah, that's also, we also have a little bit of a hurdle personally with that one. If we don't get certain things, then how we're going to talk and how we're going to structure it is still up in the air, I'll say. So once we figure that out, we'll have it. But yeah, this week will be a lot of fun too. As far as videos go, I have one that I've been cooking on for a little bit. I've been putting a lot of behind the scenes effort into really taking a look at the analytics, really trying to look at things, all the support you guys have done on this channel, especially this last month as we've kind of, I think, really started to hit our stride with not only integrating things like the Sunday Scaries, but I feel really good and confident about the videos and the quality that we've been putting out as far as the lists go and everything. I think we're really starting to get a groove into this full time. And honestly, you guys have been showing us the way. So we thank you so much for all of the love and support. Because like every time you guys come in there and even just show words of kindness, just saying, hey, I really like this concept. Like that's all we're looking for. Because it's like that means that we're at least giving you guys what you're looking for out of us. Because yeah, it's fun. But I do think we put a lot of unnecessary pressure on our shoulders. So
Yeah, I mean, you can't help but do that. I think, especially wanting to
thank you, Mom.
Produce something of quality for everyone stopping by the channel, especially everyone that's subscribed and continues to show up, not just for the videos, but on the Sunday Scaries as well, and contribute to the comments and, throwing their opinions and ideas out there because they never go unnoticed. Every time we get an interesting, pitch about anything, there's always a conversation between Dylan and I about, how can we incorporate that? It's something that we think it's interesting, as well as whoever made the comment, and then, just subscribers in general. So,
also you guys have a lot of great ideas, by the way. Like you guys will suggest list ideas and Luke and I will be like, what the fuck? Why didn't we even consider that?
And it's not just because we're in the horror space, but I've always thought this before we even opened up the YouTube channel, and before I had like a solid foundation in terms of being able to discuss horror, I guess. But I've always found horror fans to be the most lucrative in creativeness, just because of we sit there and we watch a lot of these off the wall ideas. So then I think that kind of just retrains your brain to think outside of the box. So it's anytime we get to have these conversations and we get insights from the subscribers, horror fans in general, I think those conversations are just so substantial. They're ones that kind of stick in your brain in terms of, even if it's just a grain of an idea, and being able to twist that into something where it's a top 5 of whatever, or just a video in general. So 100%, we can never thank you enough. I know we mention this almost every week, but it's something that is so overwhelming to us for everyone to show up and to give their insights, their comments. It's always appreciated. We love you guys. And it's always a pleasure to do the Sunday Scaries because we actually get to interact with everyone.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of imposter syndrome from both Luke and I that we don't like to admit, because it's like we'll sit there and we'll be thinking about like certain release times and being like trying to hit our marks, and we'll hit like, just like little snags and things like that. And it'll just be like, dude, like, we're getting down about it. But then we have to remind each other, it's like everybody's pretty much always just been like, drop your videos whenever they're ready. Like, it's fine. But it's like, there's just a moment of just like, man, I don't want to disappoint anybody. And then it comes into every list. I mean, like, we're always talking about ideas. We'll probably at least, I know Luke and I, before we fully settle on what the next video is going to be for either of us when it comes to these lists, especially, it's a lot of, well, what if I do this, this, and that? Or maybe I'll put up a poll about this, this, and that, or go back and forth. And it probably changes 2 or 3 times before we actually say, hey, this is what I'm doing, Eventually we get to the other ones, but it's a lot of just really trying to feel out what you guys want to hear most and what interests you. And hopefully that translates into more people joining in. But at the end of the day, you guys are the heart and soul of what keeps this thing moving. So it means the world to us. What's up, Paula? Welcome. Sorry, we're catching you right at the end, but you can definitely go back and watch the entire VOD if you want. We had a lot of fun talking about some fun stories. But yeah, this was it's always our number one concern every day, I would say, is just what can we do to really make sure that your guys' not only your time is being spent best on this channel, but also, again, for the Patreon subscribers too. I feel really accomplished that we're getting more stuff out to you guys, and I think that's the positive reinforcement on that has been huge, because I was so, you can ask both of these guys, I was so nervous about doing this fucking Patreon, because I was like, man, how are we going to dedicate more time to getting more videos and stuff out? But again, just hitting that rhythm with being able to post the uncensored content and that being such a bulk and such a bonus, it feels good that you guys really love it.
Absolutely, you know, and for the French list, I was able to do that like 6th pick for Patreon, and I was so excited to be, you know, because it's like, I think, Dylan, you can back me up here, where it's like when you're dedicating 5 spaces to whatever list you're doing, it's kind of like, okay, those are really prime spots. And it's like, well, they have to be the best of everything that you've watched. And the 6th pick on the Patreon pick for the French films was Sheetan, and I had watched that film. I was like, it doesn't really match up to anything else, but I really wanted to talk about it. So being able to sit down and add in that extra pick and be able to talk about it was just, it was a fun excuse to be able to, you know, actually dedicate a little extra time and effort into bringing, you know, that more of that content. So it's like, as I'm going through these other lists that I have, I'm always thinking about another pick so that I can just add that one in. So it's always going to be that kind of fun pick from everything that I've thought about, rewatched, and you know, I think that maintains the fun. I think being able to kind of just have that little bit of a layup and be like, okay, this one I don't have to be in my head so much about, because it's not one of those 5 spots. It's that extra 6th pick. So I think that's attributing to some of the fun, and then, you know, just being able to bring that extra content is always nice.
Absolutely. And yeah, I appreciate that, Russell. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
also, this just reminded me, I keep forgetting to do this. I'm going to share it, but we did make a stop over on a friend's channel this week over at Flet's Movie Reviews. Definitely, we love Kyle over there. He's one of the best. He lets us get on there and we can gush about movies that aren't horror. So it's nice and it's fun. It changes the pace of things. But we've been going through our action movie series with him. We've got about 3 episodes now. Or is it 4?
It's 4. We started with 80s, then we went back to the 70s, and then we did 90s, and then we had to do a 90s part 2. So we just did part 2 of the 90s this past Thursday. And then we're gearing up for early 2000s action. I think we set a date.
The 11th of next month, I believe.
Okay, yeah. So the 11th of next month, and then we're, of course, gonna pull Kyle into our realm for some horror discussions in October.
Yeah, I want to make him a guest on here eventually. Absolutely. And then also on Beyond the Splatter Graves. He's just super nice dude, and he's always a joy to talk to. Russell knows him very well
too. He knows his stuff in terms of like, we'll mention a film, and I'm talking about, I had a VHS when I was a kid, and Kyle can just spout off facts like nonstop about each different film. Like, okay, I don't have the brain power for that, but I'll tell you when I watched a film and picked it up from the video store as a kid.
Absolutely. And thank you, Penelope. We appreciate it. We always appreciate your input and your comments in the Patreon. You've been one of the best as far as just like getting a lot of the stuff and making sure that we know that we're going in the right direction. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Penelope always has some of the best posts in terms of just being able to kind of give a lot of insight
and detail.
Of just like one little thing. We'll just throw something out there, and then every time, you know, in our emails we get a notification, and it's like Penelope's just got like a big old paragraph of substantial stuff, and it's like, okay, that stuff, that honestly is stuff that warms my heart. Is like that interaction is so exciting to just be able to see people replying to certain things with, you know, a lot of insight into certain stuff. So Penelope, always, your comments are always some of the best.
Yep. Same with Mama Mayhem. And I mean, really everybody who's in there is just so kind and so generous with their time and their input. Cause yeah, like I said, I feel goofy saying it in the videos, and then I'll make this the last point, but it's like, I really do believe the best thing that's going to happen from this Patreon is just having you guys help us build it. Just tell us what kind of videos you want from us on there, and we'll do them. Because again, you guys are forking over your hard-earned money for something that you started watching for free and still do mostly for free on YouTube. I want to keep it that way because I also am one of those people who's just like, yeah, I want to, make sure that whatever we're putting out here is our main sauce. But again, with the unrated and uncensored videos, that's a place for it where it makes sense to me. But if you guys are going to spend your hard-earned money, even if it's $3 a month, that's still $3 that you guys had to earn or scrounge for to give to us. So it's like, I got to make sure, and I know Luke is the same way, we got to make sure that it's worth it. We got to make sure that it's something that's at least, benefiting you guys, whether it's a couple videos a month or it's a few videos and some live streams, which that's the big thing is the live streams. Once I can start fitting those in on there, I want to start doing some more like Patreon exclusive live streams with guests and things like that. So that way, we can maybe watch some movies or something together. I'm talking to somebody outside of the realm. It's actually Elena from Horror Hounds. I messaged her the other day, just trying to see how she does her like kind of private screenings, because they do a whole thing where they get you into like a private booth. I don't know what the website is or if you have to pay for it, but I'm like, that would be perfect because you can have a chat where everybody can talk to each other, but we can watch the movie without our ugly mugs having to be in front of it and everything. So that's what I want to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I know we're talking about Patreon. That opens up so many interesting avenues, sometimes just in terms of being able to create content where it's like, we put up a poll of some of the films we missed, that aren't necessarily timely anymore because they're months past, but we get that creative freedom to be able to post that to Patreon and have that discussion. So that's always exciting, just a creative freedom that allows in terms of we're not, so tied down to the algorithm and things that are going on the YouTube channel. But, the one last thing I'll say is because I can gush for hours. It's just like even Sunday Scaries in terms of seeing everyone's comments and everything,
the same names coming back every
Mama
week.
Ham, Mama Mayhem, Russell, Helen's back. Perfect. It's like it just returning people that we see every week is just so exciting to be able to just have these discussions. And it warms my heart, and I can gush about you guys for such a long time. And certainly Dylan and I both do, even when we're not recording. So
even like Stephanie and Bit Flipper today, like people like Stephanie's been here for a few weeks now. Gory Tiger's always stopping in. Silhouetted, of course, and then SS is a new one today. I don't know if I've seen you in here yet. If so, I apologize. But like, yeah, it's just great to see so many people coming back. But even like I said, I think it was Bit Flipper said that they first stream they ever caught last week, and they came back this week. So I hope that it's worth it to you.
Yeah, we're building such a wonderful community, and excited to see you guys next week because we're going to have a full docket again, but we got a lot of great content coming this week as well with a couple new reviews. So yeah, my gosh, always heartwarming on a Sunday night to get the work week started, I suppose.
Hell yeah. But alrighty guys, that's going to wrap it up here for us. Big thank you as always to our boy Adrian down in the corner. He is the man in the corner with no horror in his background, but we will change that. We'll send him some stuff.
We will change
send him a care package.
Correct next time.
But yeah, no, we got that. And then I think just overall, with all the stuff going on the Patreon, with all the stuff going on the channel, it's going to be another busy week. Lots of reviews. So stay tuned for those. We love all you guys. Thanks for stopping in, and we hope that your Monday is just as scary as your Sunday. There's a line. I just came up with that off the top of my head. Look how nice and creative you guys make me. So how fancy. I don't know. I'm a goober. But alrighty. That's going to wrap it up for me. So until next time, I'm Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the horse shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast,